In 1963, there was a crisis in the ashram, as there were not enough funds. The ashram was struggling. I was handling the ashram correspondence, along with T.K. Sundaresa Iyer, and many letters used to come inquiring if the ashram was still running and if Bhagavan's teaching was maintained there. When I was working earlier in Mumbai, I came to know that by bringing out a journal, one could raise funds by collecting advertisements from companies. I felt that if we started a yearly bulletin from the ashram, it would serve the manifold purpose of giving information about the ashram, spreading the teachings, and raising funds through collecting advertisements. Since Osborne was a brilliant writer and a friend, I could ask him to correct the language and help produce the journal. With that thought, I went to Osborne's house and explained to him about this idea of a yearly bulletin and how it could bring the ashram financial benefit while it kept devotees informed about the present working of the ashram. I sought his blessings and active cooperation. He listened with keen attention and at the end held my hands and shed tears of joy. It was very surprising, as I had never seen him so deeply moved. He told me, "Ganesan, you do not know what a blessing you have brought me today. A few weeks back, I had a dream in which Bhagavan appeared. When I knelt before him, he handed me a few copies of a magazine and asked me to take it. I understood that he wanted me to be an editor, and I had to obey my master's commandment. But which Indian magazine would I fit in? My elder brother was a reputed editor of the British magazine, The Economist. Was I to seek employment under him? I was pained at the thought of leaving Arunachala. But if that was how Bhagavan would have it, I was prepared to even leave Arunachala. But now I know what Bhagavan meant. What a joy." Arthur continued with great enthusiasm, saying, "You know, Ganesan, during the lifetime of Bhagavan and afterwards, I was asked by many to run a journal for the ashram. I repeatedly refused and said that Bhagavan's teaching was only meant for practice. It is also so precise and concise, one cannot write about it continuously in a journal month on. I knew I disappointed many devotees, but I stood firm. But now, Bhagavan has commanded me to spread his teaching of Atma Vichara through his magazine. So you see, Ganesan, we are going to start it." I was thrilled by his enthusiasm. Osborne himself decided the name of the journal should be The Mountain Path. The mountain, he said, represented Arunachala, and the path represented Bhagavan's direct teaching of self-inquiry. Then came the task of fixing the subscription fee. We were completely at sea about it. Incredibly, the next day we received a money order of 5 rupees from a stranger, a Mr. H.R. Chadha of Calcutta. There it was written, "The annual subscription for the ashram journal. More details follow in my letter." Yes, Bhagavan had decided what the annual subscription should be, and we were happy that though the format of the magazine had not been yet decided, the subscription had already been fixed. A few days later, Chada's letter arrived, and it said, "I had lost touch with the ashram. Bhagavan, whom I met in the late 30s, is my guru, and he still is. The other day, he appeared to me in a dream and showed me a journal, and I saw very clearly Rs 5 written on the cover. I take it that there is an ashram journal. Please enroll me as a subscriber." Next, another devotee, T.N. Krishnaswamy, handed over a check for 100 rupees for the first life subscription. This is how the mountain path started. Osborne and I became very close while collaborating on it. He worked very hard to collect articles, and he himself wrote many of them. and my efforts to raise funds for the ashram by collecting advertisements were crowned with success. The satsang I had with Arthur Osborne is filled with fond memories. He guided me more through his silent presence than through words. One day I went to him with a personal problem. I was harassed by a dream in which a black apparition descended and sat on my chest and throttled my throat. I was alone, I could not breathe, and I did not know what to do. I was neither afraid nor curious to know what it was. Its strangulating grip was tightening. I felt I could not breathe and I was going to die when suddenly the mantra, Om Namo Bhagavate Sri Ramanaya, started sounding repeatedly by itself from within my heart. To be honest, I never believed in japa or mantras in those days. This came of its own accord. Om Namo Bhagavate Sri Ramanaya, which means obeisance to Bhagavan Sri Ramana Maharshi. The black apparition disappeared and I woke up. I could not make out whether it was a dream, my imagination, or reality. I ran to Osborne and described the whole experience to him with the minutest detail. After listening carefully, he patted me on my back with a smile and said, Ganesan, this is genuine spiritual experience. You are fortunate. You have been given the mantra, Om Namo Bhagavate Sri Ramanaya. This is what they call ajapa japa. I shall tell you about my own experience. When Bhagavan was in the body, we who belonged to the circle of Rene Guénon were drawn to Sri Bhagavan like iron filings to a strong magnet. From among this group, David McIver was fortunate to stay with Bhagavan under his guidance and translate into English the works of Sri Bhagavan and also the works, the Tripura Rahasya, the Advaita Bodha Dipaka, and other books recommended by Sri Bhagavan. Then, attracted by a yogi in Kerala, he took him as a guru and settled down there. David, who was very fond of me and my wife, felt very strongly that we should also become disciples of his new guru. His contention was that for spiritual fulfillment, a spiritual guru was absolutely essential. Since Bhagavan never claimed himself to be a guru, we should leave him and accept a guru who was prepared to accept us as disciples. There was a spate of correspondence between us in this regard, and all these letters from and to David were shown to Bhagavan without fail. My replies claiming Bhagavan as my only guru, and that if Bhagavan is not a guru, then the term guru has no meaning at all, were all approved by Bhagavan with a nod of his head. One day I received a nasty letter warning me of dire consequences if I did not immediately leave Ramana and go over to his guru. I did not show this letter to Bhagavan, but I was terribly upset over it. I thought I might show it to him that evening. That afternoon I was doing some weeding work in my garden when I suddenly heard a thudding sound behind me. Some animal-like presence jumped down from a tree and approached me from behind. In no time, it got on my back and sat down. It felt like a bear as it had a lot of hair. It was holding on to me with its hind legs and gripping me around my chest with its hands from behind. You see, for me then, Ganesan, there was neither any curiosity to know what it was, nor any fear. There was just a calm detachment. Undisturbed, I continued with the weeding. Noticing my indifference, the animal started increasing its size and weight. Soon I had to bend forward owing to the burden on my back, and the weight became unbearable. But still I was undisturbed and felt no fear. Suddenly, it gripped my throat with its hairy hands and started throttling me. I was becoming breathless as its grip tightened more and more. But even this did not produce in me a tinge of fear. I remained fully alert and undisturbed. I felt I could breathe no more. The grip continued to tighten, and without any trace of fear, I felt I was going to die. Then the miracle took place. At the thought of death, I heard within me the sound Arunachala Shiva, Arunachala Shiva, Arunachala Shiva, Arunachala Shiva. Although I was not making the sound, something else within me was doing it. The intensity, volume, and speed of the japa increased, and it was a delightful experience to hear within you a japa pronouncing itself, while at the same time you were being aware of the grip of death. As the ajapa japa continued, the grip on my neck started loosening, and the size and weight of the animal grew less and less. Suddenly, it jumped off from my back and started running back towards the tree. I could hear its steps rushing back, and it climbed the tree and disappeared. Immediately, I got back to my normal senses, while the ajapa japa continued uninterruptedly. The next day, when Bhagavan was returning from his stroll up on the hill, I met him and showed him the letter and narrated to him what had happened the previous evening, not omitting a single detail. Bhagavan listened to me, and when I stopped, said with his benign smile, "That is all they can do. Everything is all right." By they, he must have meant the Guru who was a past master in black magic, and who made David write me that threatening letter. Bhagavan is a Purnayani, a complete and perfect sage. When you come under the protection of a perfect Satguru, even a bad experience caused by black magic is a blessing in disguise. I had thus the good fortune of being initiated into the ajapa japa of Arunachala Shiva, and you got the fortune of being initiated into the ajapa japa of Om Namo Bhagavate Sri Ramanaya.